Everybody, welcome to All Eyes on Fishing Connect, hosted by eTournament Fishing. Excited to be here tonight. We got some special guests. We just got done with our fourth of our series, Colorado, if I can speak, Colorado Walleye Trail event out at Chatfield Reservoir. Tonight's guests are going to be Gene Salberg and Andy Davis. They were the winners. We have some things we want to talk to them about on what made them successful. Pretty excited. This time of year, there's a lot of stuff going on the water, so we're excited to talk about all that. What do you think, Junior?
Tell you what, it sounds pretty good. I'm just sitting here noticing I'm the only one with a hat on. What's the deal?
Well, you don't have any hair. You're the only one with no hair, so that makes.
That means I don't have to call anything. We're a little late getting on because you guys were getting all beautified, but not me.
No, hey, we wake up like this.
Yeah, it's all natural.
So it's funny because during this tournament, Anthony actually fished in. This is a points tournament, so he was fishing in the event this last weekend. Did pretty well. It's a team event, but his team member ended up getting called out, so he had to fish it solo. That was a challenge for you, Anthony. There's a lot different kind of fishing a tournament that way.
It really is. It's a whole different dynamic. You realize how much you appreciate a co-angler until you are doing it all yourself, right? So the net job is pretty important, pretty critical. Bumped a couple off, which was pretty disappointing. I want to believe that they weren't upgrades for my bags, but yeah, it does change it up a little bit. But I went into it slugging away, and it feel pretty good. Didn't take a check, but contended with probably half the field, right? With two team members. So
I'll tell you what, I talked to Anthony when he came off the water, and it was interesting. He brought up a perspective that I have never thought of. Of course, netting the fish, run the boat, all that, all by yourself, right? Is that's how we all think what it would be like in a fishing as a single. But I don't know, he brought up the whole mental aspect of it, and it kind of hit me. I mean, there's been plenty of times out on the water where I might be pretty low, and Brad or whoever I'm fishing with, kind of brings you up. It's somebody to bounce the ideas off of. What a different deal you kind of ran into this weekend, and good job. I'm impressed. That was a good tournament, Anthony.
Yeah, thank you. It is. I mean, you do a little banter in the boat, kind of keep your uplift the things kind of light, and when you're there, you're talking to yourself.
Did you answer yourself?
No, did not answer myself, but criticized quite a bit.
Well, one of the things we're going to focus on tonight, or ask Gene and Andy about, is when they break down a lake during pre-fishing. And I could ask this to you too, Anthony, before we have them jump in. Is you get your spots where you're going to go. You figure out your patterns and things, and then how that can change from day one to day two. And you not having a partner, that's a lot on you. Because I know that when I've been out in the boat with Josh or Mitch doing tournaments, that when you have a game plan and things don't seem to be going well, you bounce it off. Okay, hey, do we want to go over to spot 2, or do we want? I'm going to start casting cranks, and you start doing jigging wraps and stuff. Let's see if we can get these things to trigger. And how that changes up during the day. But you always come into the season or into the event with a plan, and then how things can change so quickly. That's what we're going to talk to them about. But before we jump them in, I'd like to see, did that as a single in a team event? Did you struggle with that, or was it not an issue?
I argued with myself a little bit more than usual with Caesar, but no, not that we argue. It does, right? So pre-fishing had a plan, right, and then a backup plan, and of course, day one, things change, and I think we heard that with from quite a few folks that were participating. And so, yeah, you don't have someone to kind of bounce some logic off of and help with that game time decision making. But going into it, breaking down the water, I mean, you kind of go back to the basics and just see what where you can find the fish, because you got to find the fish to catch the fish. And so I certainly did that, even going into Sunday, where things were just a little bit different, but find the bait, find the fish, catch the fish was the scenario there. So, but I had to adapt from the shallower bite that I found in pre-fishing. And so I had to go a little deeper. They were hanging off the drop-offs, looking for the shad. The clouds of bait would come in off to the break point, and then the fish would follow them out. They'd come back in. You had to be positioned just right, the spot on a spot, because there was a lot of areas surrounding a particular gravel pit that we were fishing, or I was fishing. Some of the other tournament anglers were there as well. There were fish in certain areas that were active, and on the other side, in really kind of the same features, underwater features, fish were neutral, and kind of negative. They weren't triggering on anything. So it was just being kind of flexible with myself in terms of what the approach, and found what was happening, and was able to connect a few fish. Didn't make any major decisions, kind of fished the area the whole weekend, and it worked out. It fared pretty well. I probably, could have not been as stubborn with fishing a particular location for several hours where there was just nothing happening. Where, in my case here with my co-angler Caesar, we kind of talk through it. We figure out what we want to do. We kind of move on. So it was a little different dynamic from that standpoint.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to hear, what Gene and Andy have to say about what day one what pre-fish looked like versus day one, day two, if they made any changes, and then if they also changed the presentations. Are they in the room waiting for us, or?
Yep, we've got them in the room. I can let them in.
All right. Well, looks like we got Andy on, and we also got Gene. Thanks, guys, for joining us tonight on AEoF Connect. Going to talk about your solid win that you had this last weekend at the Colorado Walleye Trail. So welcome. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks. It looks like Gene's muted there.
He is.
Yep.
That's probably not so bad, Andy. You could do that on the boat. It'd be nice, huh?
Yeah, we dodged the bullet there.
There we go. Thanks for having us, fellas.
Yeah, you bet. Hell of a job last week.
Congrats.
I don't remember, but I think you started off after day one in the very top. I mean, I think you were in second or third place after day one. I don't remember, but then just smoked it right out of the gates on day two. So we were going to ask you a little bit about, what pre-fishing looked like, if that how that sets you up for the tournament. If once you got into day one, and did you have to make adjustments day two? Like, okay, that wasn't working. Being as high as you did, it probably wasn't working, but did you make any adjustments? And if so, the different presentations that you used to make yourself successful. So that's kind of what we want to talk about, and then anything else that comes up during it. But hell of a job. Josh, do you remember, or you guys probably remember what your final weight was?
Yeah, it was like 35, 35.4 or 35 something, 35 and a half, I call it.
Well, of course, we're going to round up 35 and a half. Sounds better.
Yeah.
36. We'll just call it 36 and call it good, right?
Yeah.
Let me pull up the handy dandy e-tournament fishing app, past events here, and I'll tell you exactly.
He's going to tell you exactly what you had, Andy, because I have a feeling, just like all of us.
I got to put a cork in my mouth now. Mute me.
That's probably a record bag for a 2-day tournament at Chatty, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything like that.
As far as the app goes
30,
back, I don't think I've seen anything higher.
Yeah.
35.16 was your total weight, a day one total of 15.84, and a day two crushing of 19.32. Not too shabby. 10 fish total.
Smoked it.
Yeah, I tell you that.
First off, on your pre-fishing, what was going on with pre-fishing? When you guys get any time on the water before the tournament, or did you just go out cold turkey and get at it?
Go ahead, Gene.
We got out quite a bit. Kind of what we ran into, though, is Chatfield started dropping their water. So what we would have done a month ago is totally different than what we were doing now, because, when we first started, like, everything was up in the trees, but they pulled so much water out, it pulled all that bait out, and it pulled all the fish out as well. And, looking at it, it's down to, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet maybe over the old full pull for Chatfield. So we kind of went back to some spots that we know and some people we know that we used to fish back at the old lake levels and paid off.
Good. So how many days did you guys get to pre-fish?
The week of, I think Gene and I fished what Monday together. And then Gene got out with a buddy of his on Tuesday, or vice versa. I got out. We fished. What was it? Monday that we fished together? Did we fish together at all this week?
Yeah, I did Saturday with a buddy, and then we did Monday.
Monday, that's
and
right. Yeah.
then Wednesday again. And I
Okay,
think we went out
Wednesday, and
Tuesday.
I went out Friday alone.
Yeah.
After we had gotten a whisper from a friend that there may be some fish holding in this area, and I went to check them, and lo and behold, they were there. And I kind of looked around in similar areas and similar structure, and fish were there. And where we had located it early on in the week, they were holding there. We tried to stay out of the area as much as possible, but with as many good sticks as there are in the CWT, we kind of figured there were going to be some boats in the area. But day one, yeah, kind of answering your question there, Brad. There was a little bit of change in plan from day one to day two, and I give all that credit to Gene. Our first day we pulled up. We had a plan. We're going to start off outside of our main area, just kind of see where everyone's set up the inside of Kingfisher. And our spot was wide open. So we fished an area for an hour and a half. I think we did end up carting one fish for that day from that area, right, Gene?
Yeah, we just our first one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we got in there and we started catching fish right away. They were in a different area day one than they were day two. But, just kind of paying attention to where boats are coming across and maybe boats are fishing or, where fish might move to. It was kind of just, the stars aligned, and I watched a boat pull in. And actually on day two, I was kind of sour, telling Gene that I was like, man, I'm not going to catch any fish, because there was a guy that set up to the right of us where I was throwing all day the day before, and that's where I was catching my fish, and he was right on top of it. I didn't want to tell him that he wasn't in the right area, but
Was he a tournament angler or just a local?
it was a tournament angler.
Oh, yeah. You're definitely not saying anything.
Yeah. Right. So, but and then Anthony's over, 50 yards, 40 yards off to our left over here, and we're sharing waterways, and a boat pulls through, and they caught a fish just trolling through. They weren't going to set up there because they obviously were throwing there. They trolled through just on their way to their spot, and they nabbed a fish, and I was like, So I threw over there, and first cast on Sunday morning was our big fish, which would got beat out right at the end of the day, but it was 23 and a half or something.
It was a hell of a day. So Gene, take me into day two. What made you guys? So Andy said he gives you credit for day two of switching. What was that decision? Why did you make that decision? Because you got a hell of a weight on day one. Why change it up?
Before we go into day two, let's talk about day one again.
Yeah,
the only reason people are going to watch this is to hear what you were using. And so tell us what you're using. Let's go.
Come on, don't hold out on us. Over.
No, hold on. Here's how this works. You don't have to tell us where you were fishing. You already messed that up, Andy. You just need to tell us what you were fishing with.
Yeah.
Well, the season's
I
over,
believe
right?
you used the word kingfisher. I was like, oh, write that down.
Yeah, that's your own fault. That's duh. But what you're using is different, because that could be anything. I mean, it can change every day depending on what's going on.
I'll cover it, Andy. So here's what I'll say. Anthony saw it firsthand. There's a setup a buddy of ours stumbled on, and I'll compare it to hard baits. We were throwing plastics, but you have certain baits that have a real big tail kick on them. You have baits that have a real small tail kick, and you have baits that are more of a roll and it wobbles, right?
Yeah.
And then you also combine that with what weight you're putting on it. So lighter jig heads, at certain speeds go higher off the bottom, heavier ones stay down on the bottom. There was a certain setup a buddy of ours stumbled on, and I mean, we were throwing in 6 foot of water, Andy? Roughly?
Yeah. Six
We
to
were
8.
shallow. I mean, we were real shallow. But the setup we had with the colors we had, we were out fishing every boat in pre-fishing and sitting around us that we could have pitched into their boats 10 or 15 to 1.
No doubt. Yeah, I can attest to that. I mean, I was, as Andy said, west of them, about 50 yards, and I'd hear the net hit that water. It seemed like every 5 minutes, and you'd hear that drag just go. So no doubt you guys were onto that spot on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was it? Was it color? Was it color, or was it presentation? Was it snap jigging? Was it reeling in? Come on, you stash sissies.
You
Let's
got to
go.
give us at least 60%.
We weren't doing anything fancy. We were just slow rolling them. But
Yeah.
it was the combination of the weight and the size and the action of the bait that they could not leave it alone. No, anywhere on the lake, like no matter where we went. It's been that way for a couple weeks.
Right.
Yeah. So the plastics, are we going big plastic, little plastic? What, 3 inches, 5 inches?
Both. We had 2 patterns going. We had one with a little bit smaller plastic that Andy was throwing. Day one, I was throwing out into deeper water, into 20 plus feet with a bigger, 4.5 inch plastic, and was swimming over the top of the fish and under the schools of shad and above the fish on the bottom, and they were coming up and hitting quite frequently. Day 2, I wasn't able to do that because Andy was catching them so dang fast. I couldn't hardly get a cast in because by the time we'd measure it and let it go, he'd already throw another one. I'd finish submitting it, get up to my pole, and he'd be like, I got another one. So I'd run back and get another one. Like I got a cast every 2 or 3 fish he caught because he was just put on a clinic.
So a lot of times we're fishing, this time of year can really start hitting up on the glide baits and stuff. And I know that you guys are throwing plastics, but glide baits is a lot of times a big reaction bite. Sounds like you're slow rolling cadence. Did you notice difference in the cadence, or did you have to change it up from during just day 1 only? We'll get more into day 2. I want to hear the smoke show that Andy had going on, but was it a cadence thing too that you noticed versus smaller or bigger baits?
It was very particular. I can tell you that, because the faster I got with my reel, the more the higher off the bottom I was coming, and the more bass that I was catching. So yeah, it was a combination of the just the slow roll. You didn't want to be dragging bottom per se, but yeah, it was particular. I mean, I'm with you there. I want to throw a glide bait. I want to throw a blade bait. And you could have caught him that way, but it wasn't the winning pattern. So yeah, I mean, 2 weeks ago, I had my best day ever on Chatfield. Probably about 2.5 weeks ago, and that was glide baits and snapping plastics, and I had 2 fish over 26 and several in the 22 to 23 range in like a 4-hour period in the evening.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And that was in a completely different area that we fished. We're talking deep ridges and edges falling into pits. You guys probably know where those areas are back there. Not as far back as we were during the tournament or anything, but I wanted those because those fish were there. They were just so negative, and we could have wasted several hours chasing those fish and maybe caught one of them, but we would have shot ourselves in the foot for that in that regard.
Yeah.
So Saturday, what was the key? Was it location or was it bait? Or all the
location?
Above?
All the
Location.
above, and Gene texts me late at night, and I'll let him take it for here.
Well, we don't want to hear about that. We want to hear about fishing.
Yeah. We don't want to hear about what's going on late at night in Gene's head. But
Yeah.
fishing related, shoot, Gene. Go ahead.
Yeah, you really
It's a
don't.
family-friendly show, right?
Yeah, I had a friend that rolled in there on Thursday, and he sat up in there throwing what we were throwing, and he was there for 2 or 3 hours and was catching them almost every cast. He had 20 fish over 20 inches and never moved. And just so we knew they were there. We started off in a different area, a quarter mile, half mile away, and only got the one fish. And just my gut told me some of those bigger fish were going to be sliding up into that area to feed early morning. The sun was coming up a little later. It's getting fall, and we'd kind of be stupid not to start off on that spot knowing those fish were hanging around there.
And worried that somebody might try and hawk that spot and sit on it.
Which they did. I mean, we were racing back there, and we had somebody we know later told us they were going to take our spot, but I kept cutting them off in the no wake so they couldn't get back there. So they would go right, I'd go right, they'd go left. But it really was the bait. I really think if we had moved over 50 yards to our right and thrown, we still would have been catching them. It really was what we were using and just how aggressive they were with it. But we started off there knowing we only got one at our other spot, and that paid off. I think we had our 20-pound bag in 35 minutes in the boat. And our phone was just slow to upload. We didn't have good service back there, but we had our 5 fish and 20 pounds in no time at all. And probably, I don't know, what do you think, Andy? Threw back a dozen 18s?
Yeah, a couple 19s.
Yeah.
So 5 fish, half hour. Who caught the most? Sounds like
Andy did. Yeah, I was just netting fish. That's all I did.
He didn't let you fish.
Netting fish and cashing checks. That's what you're doing.
That's right. It all pays the same.
Yeah.
That's right.
So how easy was it being on a bite like that and going as fast as you were, putting fish in, using the app to do that as opposed to tossing them in the box and making sure they live and all that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge proponent for the app just because of the high mortality rate with bringing in and weighing. Obviously, this being a fall tournament probably wouldn't have been as a high of a mortality rate, but yeah, I mean, anytime you get a chance to conserve, especially in our waterways, I would choose it 10 times out of 10,
Did you guys take a look at the leaderboard when we opened it up for a half hour to see where you were standing, or did you just say, I don't want to know?
Oh yeah, I think Gene was like questioning whether we're going to send a text. Are they going to open the leaderboard? We need to know where we're at. We're waiting because usually it's a noon leaderboard, and I think you guys popped it on at 1, maybe.
Yeah, maybe
12:31,
12:31, right around there. Yeah, just a little suspense time.
Well, and we knew we had a big bag, right? Like we knew what we were sitting on by 8 o'clock, and we knew where everybody else was sitting. So somebody had to have just a day even better than ours was, including some big fish, in order to pass us. So we knew we were sitting well. So once the live leaderboard came on, and I think when it came on, we were up there at 35, and I think the closest team at that time was at like 27 or 28. Then it was more just figuring out what football game we wanted to listen to on the radio and kind of goof off because we really weren't going to upgrade on anything we had. I think to have a substantial upgrade, we would have needed probably a 21 and a half or a 22 to make it worthwhile.
Yeah,
so
not a bad day. Anthony, you were 50 yards away.
Yeah. Didn't have that right combination of jig head or plastic. I had one that was
it doesn't sound like you're gonna, because they're not giving it up. They're not giving it up.
Hey, don't think in your own right. Anthony wasn't reeling them in over there. He was.
Yeah.
He was putting on a show at One Man Clinic over there. It was. I applaud that effort, man. That was really cool.
To catch it, let it, measure it, and take a photo and release it all by himself. I mean, we were actually cheering him on. It was pretty impressive to watch.
Good job, Anthony.
I can tell you from a director standpoint, we were eating breakfast at a restaurant in town because that's what we do while you guys all go out there and fish sometimes. And we watched when we ordered our food. We were approving fish, and your guys' fish started to roll in. And before our food came, you had a 10-pound lead on the next closest team. That's how fast it happened. So
Wow.
it was pretty cool to watch because all of a sudden, I think Mitch was it Brad. Brad looked up and goes, holy shit! He goes, they're up by 10 pounds. He goes, they just had another big one come in.
They didn't believe me, guys. They're like, whatever. I'm like, bullshit. Look at this.
Yeah, we're like, not Gene and Andy. There's no way. There's no way those two did it.
Andy,
Hey, listen.
Gene, or did we say
Yeah.
Gene and Andy? I don't remember.
Yeah, no, wait a minute. I want some credit for this because let's be honest. I'm the one who put you both onto Fishing Single or Fishing Mingle, whatever that website was for dating. Got you two hooked up as partners. So I want some credit for this partnership here. I know that you two, send each other snaps and all kinds of stuff, but this is how it goes. Fishing Fishing Single, I think it was, right?
Yeah. Late night phone calls, all of it.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah. I want some credit. Where's my cut of the cash?
Yeah, we did some different stuff this year. I think both Andy and I, other than Cherry Creek, a few fish we put on a card. I think every fish we carded this year at every lake was in less than 10 foot of water.
Yep.
We stayed shallow.
Shallow
all
bite.
year.
A lot of times it's overlooked, doesn't it?
Yep. Spring, summer, fall, didn't matter. We found shallow fish, and we got the second at Pueblo, the fifth and the sixth, and 90% of our fish were in less than 10 feet of water. So
yeah. Well, guys, it's
After
hell of
that-
a season you had. Great show out there at Chatfield, but not just there. You just mentioned some of your other places. Great job this year. Love having you on. Love you being part of the CWT. You guys are good guys. Everybody respects you a ton out on the water, and just the way you guys are true professionals out there. So thanks for joining us tonight and sharing some of your. I wish we could have got a little more out of you, but we'll take what we get, But and if you feel like you just want to share it with these guys, you guys give me a call. It's fine.
We can ask Brad to drop off, and he can share it with us.
Yeah, I won't let him. I won't let him.
I did hear a rumor I want to clear up with you guys, though, if you can.
Okay, let's hear it.
So the All Eyes on Fishing group, I recently heard that Anthony's the new king fisherman and outfished you guys, and he's now the best fisherman of the group. Is that true?
The best fisher of all.
There you go.
Josh has a complex. He put
Enough
himself as
said.
fishing master, but we know that's not true.
See, Josh, the word is out, man.
Oh boy.
Yes,
I'm not saying where I heard it, but I heard that
I-
Anthony was
I've
now the new
Seen the
king.
clips,
What took the crown away from
I see it
Josh.
all.
Josh has got some work to do. He's got to get out and fish if he wants to try to beat me now.
That's right.
I'll say one thing. Out of the three of us, we felt so bad for Anthony. We offered Mitch up as a partner, and he turned him down. So I'm
Yes.
only going to leave it at that.
That is a true story.
That's
No.
a true story.
Well, I just want to throw this
there.
out there.
What we should do is take on the directors, like a tournament, take on the directors, see how we can put up against you guys.
There you go.
Well, I tell you what,
Yeah.
we're out there.
Let's roll.
We keep score on ourselves. We're like, so we didn't win any tournaments this year. I think the best we did was.
Pueblo, we did pretty good.
I was going to
Pueblo
say, I
tournament,
remember seeing a post from Pueblo, well, these guys are over there, don't forget that these directors are over here putting on a show, right?
Yeah.
Well, we weren't
Quietly
first
putting on
for a
a show
while.
or something.
We weren't first for a while on that, and I think we ended up around that fourth place at Pueblo. So we had a pretty good lead for a while, and then lost it. But
Yeah, I think I seen Mitch with a nice fish in that post.
You did.
Andy, you bring up a really good point, and I think an opportunity, maybe a head-to-head little competition with the directors. That'll go get them head-to-head action.
Yeah,
I'm game.
Yeah,
I'm down.
I would
I'm
suggest Chatfield this weekend, just because we know our baits are still working.
Well, as long as you
Andy
let
won't
us
tell
know,
anybody.
there you go.
Gentlemen,
Man.
thank you
the
for your time.
waypoints.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on, taking the time with us, and sharing a little bit of your story. So thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Good
Good job,
job.
boys.
take
Good
care.
job.
All right, we'll see ya.
I tell you what, they did put on a show. I mean, it really was. Within like the first 40 minutes, we were like, "Oh my god, so hot!"
I was 50 yards
Yeah.
away. Imagine the kind of psychological impact it had on me. These guys were pulling them in. 15 to 1's no joke. I mean, they were hammering them.
It really goes to show you, though, and they brought it up before we get into ET news. Is you can find fish shallow all year, right? You really can. If you figure out a pattern, and when the fish are moving. You can find them shallow, and a lot of people overlook that, especially this time of year. A lot of people are fishing breaks, deeper water, slabbing, things like that. But it was impressive.
Yeah.
I'll give you guys a little insight into Gene. Gene and I fished a Glendo tournament together, the early spring one, when you're fishing slip bobbers, a little bit deeper out, stuff like that. And he and I had a rough day one where people were jigging minnows about 15, 20 feet of water. And, we all know that Glendo, it's got a shallow bite when you get up in there throwing crankbaits and stuff. And so I took Gene up and we fished in about 3.5 feet of water. We were towing slip bobbers with giant sucker minnows behind the boat, and those had to have been set 2.5, 3 feet below the surface. And then we were casting size 7 flicker sheds into a couple feet of water and pulling them out. And we got our 5. I think the smallest fish was probably 23.5. And we just hammered them, fishing 3 to 4 feet of water. And I think it was a pretty good eye opener for Mr. Salberg, because he really started to go in, and obviously he's started to perfect it. So
yeah, shallow water fishing, can't overlook it. Mitch, you got any ET news for us, bud?
Yeah, real quick, I wanted to talk about our challenge events. Okay, so here at ET Fishing, we created these challenge events, right? So they're free for all of our members and subscribers. So as long as you have an active subscription on the app, boom, you can enter for free. So the cool thing is every month it's going to change up different species, maybe multi-species, but we'll always be ahead of it, let you know what's coming. So like right now, the salmon derby is going. It's going to be done next Tuesday. It'll be the last day of the 30th. Right now, we've only got one salmon in it. So Rhonda, you're in line for the grand prize of $250 for the month. And then she already won one of the weeks, and that's $25. So the way it works is every week there'll be a reset for big fish for that species. And then the overall winner for the month is $250. Free to enter. We just created, we want you guys to compete. We want you to use the app. We want you to have fun. We want to see it. We want to be part of it. So in October, we're doing smallmouth bass. Anywhere in the US, anywhere in Canada, as long as you have a subscription for the app, boom, jump in, enter it for free, fish anytime you want, submit your fish, it'll automatically upgrade and see how you do. Chance at free money and some good fun. So we're hoping everybody jumps in.
Well, that's a great idea. And Josh, talk a little bit about the brawl coming up here in Colorado.
So in Colorado, starting October 18th, I believe, we're going to have the Colorado Walleye Brawl, which is part of our Fall Frenzy series. And we're hoping to get 50 to 100 people into this thing. $35 to enter, any public waters in the state of Colorado. Biggest eye wins grand champion. We'll do weekly resets for biggest eye. We'll have biggest eye prizes for the week. And it's going to run in conjunction. We're going to do one in Alberta. We're doing one on Lake Michigan and one on Lake Huron. And then we're doing one with Bass Pro over there for the whole state of Florida on an IFA inshore series. So Colorado's going to be rolling with the brawl. So let's get as many people in as we can. I think last year we had 30 and 14 pounds won at a 14 pounder. So yeah, there's some big ones rolling around out there. So let's get some people entered and get going with this.
Well, it's a good time to be out there fishing right now. There's a lot of good weights that can be caught. So from everybody at All Eyes on Fishing and Connect and eTournament Fishing, we do really appreciate you guys following us, subscribing to our YouTube channel, and then sharing us with your friends. From everybody here, thanks a lot.
Thank you.